In the last video, we talked about why ear training can suddenly feel unstable in the intermediate levels. Today, I want to show you something very practical. What is actually on the RCM ear test and how the structure expands from the beginner levels into levels 5 through 8. Because once you understand the structure, preparation becomes strategic instead of reactive, and guessing stops being the default plan. By the end of level 4, these skills should feel steady. Students should be able to confidently identify major and minor triads, 5 intervals, including major and minor third, perfect fourth, fifth, and octave. They should be able to play back a melody that's within a major or minor pentascale. That's around 7 notes based on simple rhythms. That's the foundation, not partial success, not most of the time, steady. Because everything in levels 5 to 8 builds directly on this. Now, here's where the shift happens. The categories look similar. So in levels 5 and up, you still have intervals, chords, melody playback. But the listening demand expands in multiple ways at once. It's that stacking effect that often surprises students. At level 5, rhythm clapback is removed. Students are no longer earning separate marks just for rhythm. Instead, rhythm is integrated directly into melody playback, and a new listening skill is introduced: chord progressions. They are identifying movement between chords. They must track where the bass moves, how the harmony shifts, how it resolves. Let's move on to intervals. Before level 5, intervals were played ascending and then descending. Let me give you an example. That was an example of a perfect fifth, heard ascending, followed by descending. And here's another example. And that was an example of a minor third interval. But from level 5 onward, intervals will be given only in one direction, either played ascending or descending. And this is where many students struggle, especially with descending intervals. Because in earlier levels, they relied on hearing the ascending version first, the descending interval felt familiar because it followed the ascending one. Now that comparison disappears. Students must recognize the sound immediately without hearing it both ways. That shift alone can make intervals feel suddenly unstable. Let's talk about chords. Level 5 introduces the dominant 7th chord. Here's an example. Later levels add diminished 7th and augmented triads. So the earlier 50-50 guessing disappears. There are simply more chords to tell apart, and each one carries equal weight. Now let's talk about melody playback, because this is often the biggest shock. At level 5, melodies are still based on the simple major and minor pentascale. That's in a major pentascale, for example. But now it includes the upper tonic and the upper tonic. From level 6 onwards, melodies expand to the full octave spanning tonic to tonic. So again, in the key of C, that means going from C all the way up to the higher C, or from dominant to dominant. So in the key of C, the dominant note would be the G. So the melody could actually go from the low G all the way up to the G. Dotted rhythmic patterns appear. Melody length increases. At level 5, melodies can be up to 8 notes. With each level adds another note. So by level 8, melody may be up to 11 notes long. That's a lot of notes to remember. It's no longer short-term imitation. It's organized listening across various pitches, complex rhythm, all at once. Now step back and look at the pattern. The exam isn't randomly harder, it's layered. More interval options, more chord sounds to tell apart, more rhythmic variation, longer melodies. If the foundation isn't solid, this expansion feels overwhelming. If it is solid, the expansion feels manageable. That's the difference. The exam simply widened in scope, and widened structures require stronger foundations. So if your child is struggling at level 6, 7, or 8, it does not mean they lack musical ability. It usually means one of two things. The foundation needs strengthening, or preparation hasn't matched the expanded structure. Both are fixable, but they require intentional alignment. Now that you understand what's changing structurally, the next question becomes, why doesn't just practicing more solve this? In the next video, we're going to talk about 3 very common ear training myths, because understanding the structure is only the first step. Training within it is where real progress begins. If you're not sure where your child stands, the readiness quiz will help you see that clearly, because clarity comes before strategy.